In this segment, we'll demonstrate how to glue the soundboard and the back to the Harp body frame. We have another video series that demonstrates how to assemble the body frame. To help straighten the sides, I simply screw straight 2x4s to a 3/4 inch piece of plywood. I match the straight 2x4s to the taper of the sides. Tap the frame into the jig with a rubber mallet. After the soundboard and back are glued on, the sides will be locked straight and you won't have a bow in the sides of your harp. First, let's check to see how the soundboard fits into the frame. Because the joint near the top shoulder is exposed, it is a good idea to make sure there is no gap there like there is here. I mark where the soundboard is tight to the body frame. This is where I'm going to remove wood to make sure that the soundboard fits tight within the frame. I would like to show you different methods for removing wood from the edge of the soundboard. I prefer to use hand tools such as a plane, a sanding block, a chisel, or a file. It is convenient to use a vise to hold the soundboard while working on it. I will sometimes use a power sander if I need to remove quite a bit of wood. I check the fit of the soundboard to the frame quite often. You don't want to remove too much wood. This is perfect, there is no gap here and it just covers the shoulder. It is okay to have slight gaps here as this will be covered by the trim. I like to mark the overhang so that I can cut this off before I glue the soundboard on. It is hard to remove this once the soundboard is on, so it's nice to do it now. Before gluing on the soundboard, you need to make sure that there is no ledge between the base and the sides or the top block and the sides. If there is, there's a risk that the soundboard won't glue on completely and it may pull off from the string tension. A chisel, a file, or a sanding block will work well for this task. Also, make sure that the braces are not protruding out. Finally, I like to mark the location of the screws for the front trim. I do not want any staples under there. Now the soundboard is ready to be glued on. Apply plenty of glue, and I like to use Titebond 1. I like to use an 18 gauge pneumatic stapler for this task. We use 18 gauge staples that are 3/4 of an inch long. Make sure that the staples are not going all the way through the plywood. I like to avoid staples near the top. Any staples that are protruding above the soundboard I like to pound with a punch. I like to make sure that they do not interfere with the trim or a plane that I might use. If you don't have a pneumatic gun, you can use brad nails and a hammer. If you do this, it's nice to have a second hand to make sure you get this done before the glue dries. Use a punch to make sure the nails are below the surface of the soundboard. Because there are no nails or staples at the top of the shoulder, you will need to use clamps here to fasten the soundboard. There is also a spacer that needs to go below the trim. There is a pre-drilled hole that is for the pillar that you need to avoid. Now we're ready to glue on the back. I like to use the same processes that I did on the soundboard. I prefer to use clamps on the back, but if you don't have enough clamps, you can use staples or nails to do this. Also, avoid staples near the shoulder. I'm using a clamping caul here to help distribute the pressure of the clamp, and also so that I don't dent the harp. If you choose to glue on the back, I prefer to make clamping cauls to help distribute the pressure of the clamps. I like to put clear tape on the clamping cauls to be safe, so I do not glue on the clamping cauls to the back. If you do not have enough clamps, bungee cord is one way of gluing on the back. In another video series, we show how to make a workboard for using bungee cords. If you can't find bungee cord, we do sell bungee cord by the foot on our website. You can either staple or clamp the back to the base. I like to do the best clamping near the top block, since this is the most visible part of the harp. This right here would be my preferred method for clamping on the back, lots of cam clamps. Although most people won't have this many clamps, the other methods will do just as good of a job. I hope that you found these methods to be helpful. Now the harp is ready for the trim to be glued on.